Welcome, YouTube. Today, I wanted to have a brief discussion about ultra-modern cards, ultra-modern basketball cards in particular. You may have noticed, of course, that I don't really own very many ultra-modern. And I think, in my opinion, when people talk about ultra-modern in sports cards, I think at the very least, people are talking about sometime around 2016, 2017, and beyond. Maybe even going back as far as 2012. 2012 really was an interesting year. It was after in basketball in particular, it was after their last big union strike. And for like over a year, uh, Panini had purchased the rights to produce NBA official licensed basketball cards in 2009, 2010, sometime around then. But they weren't able to produce any after 2010 because of the strike that happened with the players union and the NBA. But then the strike ended right before the 2011 2012 season, I believe. It was a shortened season that year, but still, it had ended around that time period, and so Panini was able to start manufacturing cards again, basketball cards, I should say. And that was around the same time period where Panini was in discussions about doing licenses for the other sports as well, and they would eventually get the license to do football cards. They tried to get the license, I think, for baseball, and they even went ahead and did some unlicensed baseball products for a while. But really, basketball and football obviously kind of became their bread and butter after 2012. And of course, you saw a lot of new products come out in that time period. And for a while, I think Panini just kind of put out product just to kind of test it and see how it would do in the market. And I think by around 2015 or 16, I think they had a pretty strong hold in terms of what products that they were going to really focus on. And you started to see the print runs for a lot of their popular products start to increase. And you also, of course, started seeing a lot more deals being done with a lot of the retail companies, Walmart, Target, etc. And so more product was needed to fulfill those needs, obviously. But I think just in general, they saw what was popular by then, and they started really increasing the print run line for a lot of those popular brands. Of course, the most popular brands, particularly being Panini Prism, Panini Select, and then Panini Optic, I think came around 2017, and that started increasing as well. And then yeah, you saw just a huge increase in a lot of those popular product lines. And so I think, and now there's a lot of content out there now that you can find on YouTube or Instagram or Reddit or wherever else, talking about how the current time period that we're in right now, being 2021, kind of being the next era of junk wax. Um, you know, for those who may not know, obviously, the junk wax era, the original junk wax era, happened in the late '80s, early '90s because baseball card collecting in particular became such a popular thing to do, and people kept thinking that they could make a lot of money off of it. And the companies involved in Topps, Upper Deck, and Fleer really just started literally just printing as much as they possibly could. And of course, so many products back then were strictly paper products. You didn't really have very many chrome. You didn't have any chrome products, obviously, that hadn't really come around yet. And you also didn't really have very many short print run products, thick stock card products, anything of that nature hadn't really come around yet. And so they're literally just trying to print money, and they overprinted in excess, and it led to a dramatic decrease in value of the cards that came out during that time period. And so there's a lot of fear that that's what's going on right now. You see the population reports for a lot of the newer products, especially 2017 and beyond, you see a huge increase for just about everything, but in particular, the popular products like Panini Prism, and I mean, just take a look and I don't have like the numbers in front of me, but a lot of people have done videos on, and a lot of people have put out numbers on the dramatic increase that we have seen, not just in raw base cards, but basically even gem mints like PSA gem mint 10s. The amount that are out there now for products past 2018, you just go look at Luka Doncic, Panini Prism base gem mint 10s, it's Zion Williamson's, and it keeps going increasing and increasing. And I think at this point in time, there's over 10,000 or so of each one of those as a gem mint 10. And then, and of course, the real popular parallel to hit for a long time period was the silver parallel. It was just the regular parallel, just like the old fashioned Topps Chrome, just regular refractor parallel. That still is a really popular parallel to hit for collectors. But even look at those numbers over the years, and they have dramatically increased. And so, a Panini Prism Silver Gem Mint 10 is really not an uncommon card now. And so just like I said, I mean, go around, do research on it, and just take a look at the numbers, and take a look though at what those prices still are in the marketplace, and they're just still insane, in my opinion. I don't know why or how the price points of a lot of those cards, in particular, just like the base rookies, and I think Luka Doncic's base Prism Gem Mint 10 is still going for like $800. And like I said, there's like over 10,000 of them, I believe. And it seems crazy to me, and it seems certainly unsustainable for those price points to be as high as they are. And I think basically they are as high as they are, obviously, is because people love still buying players that are still currently playing and believing that they could become, the greatest, considered some of the greatest players of all time, and still see an increase in all their card values, even their base rookie cards, things like that. And a part of me kind of understands, because those cards are a lot more accessible to a lot of collectors out there. Not everyone can go out and spend a bunch of money on the really, really, the really, really rare numbered parallels of the popular players right now. They're just going for insane prices, and so you do have an accessibility thing when it comes to a lot of those cards. People can usually get their hands on them, and they are at a price point that a lot of people can generally afford them. I just still think that getting into some of those base cards at the prices that they are right now isn't probably going to be a good investment, especially here within the next few years or so. So, I know a lot of this has been said a lot by a lot of other people, of course. There's, like I said, so much content out there about people really like trying to give warnings about the current state, the market of the current ultra modern product lines, and how there's going to be a dip in the prices and it's going to come crashing down. A lot of people are even going on yelling that there's going to be a bubble burst, which I don't believe will happen. I can't remember who said this, but somebody that I watched recently, said it very well in terms of, even if there is a bubble burst, so to speak, like there kind of was back in the late 80s, early 90s, even though there wasn't technically a bubble burst then necessarily, it's just a lot of prices for a lot of the cards that were deemed to be, just very common and not rare at all. They just kind of came back down to earth where they should have been. But the price points for the stuff that was still deemed rare, and the price points in particular for vintage cards during that time period, you can still, the vintage cards of the 50s and 60s or whatnot, they still held their value, and they still actually kept increasing in value during that time period. And I kind of think the same thing is basically going to happen right now. It's like, okay, so yeah, your base Prism rookie cards, your select base, your optic base, all those will probably come back down to earth a little bit. I don't think there'll ever be like a bubble burst necessarily, but you'll see them come back down, obviously. But I think the things that people have been wanting to collect for decades, those price points will stay up high, and the trajectory of those will still, I think, continue to go up. So with that in mind, so I like I said, I don't tend to buy very many ultra modern cards, obviously, unless there is something that really kind of catches my eye, catches my intrigue. So I did see this recently on myslabs.com. It's a great site to go to purchase just slab cards. They have a lot of great cards on there, a lot of great sellers. So obviously this is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander rookie hoops, artist proof, parallel. These are the ones that are numbered to 25. This you can see is 4 of 25. So already a pretty rare card. These are obviously very, very difficult to pull. And these parallels, I've noticed, these hoops parallels, when they often add this extra sort of shiny foil to these hoops cards, oftentimes it feels like these are very difficult to grade as a perfect 10 in PSA or 9.5 in BGS or 10 in SGC. And so when I saw this as a Gem Mint 10, I kind of figured, oh wow, it's probably one of a kind. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it is. This is a Pop 1. This is the only PSA Gem Mint 10 version of this card. And something like this is definitely very intriguing to me, because obviously you're not going to find this anywhere else. And I really don't believe there's probably going to be very many other Gem Mint 10s that come up and pop up here within the next couple of years or so. I mean, these, like I said, are in my opinion very difficult to get as Gem Mint 10. So, there's a very good chance that this stays a Pop 1. And I got this for much less than you would pay for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Panini Prism Refractor, or I guess I should say Panini Prism Silver Gem Mint 10. His Panini Prism Silver Gem Mint 10s, even though they're not that rare, there's about, I can't remember exactly. I think there's about 2,000 or so, or 1,500 to 2,000, somewhere around there in the PSA Pop report. And then there's a lot more of them still as BGS 9.5 and SGC 10. Those still go for around $900, roughly, give or take. This I purchased for $540. And so finding something like this that's even less than the Panini Prism Silver, and like I said, I kind of understand because people love the Panini Prism Silvers, but I just think that over time, stuff like this, in terms of ultra modern cards, are going to be a lot more desirable, because those Panini Prism Silvers and Select Silvers and Optic Hollows and whatever other basic parallels there are of all the different brands that they have now. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Panini Prism and Panini Select both now have well over 50 parallels in their product lines now, which is just crazy. So most of those parallels are just not very uncommon. So anyway, so I don't know. I feel like that if you're gonna go look for ultra modern stuff, these type of things are kind of the way to go. Finding something really rare and unique like this, and and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I am originally from Oklahoma City. I'm currently living in Little Rock, Arkansas, but I lived in Oklahoma City for, the first 35 years of my life. I just recently moved out of there. So I am a huge OKC Thunder fan. And so I do have a lot of belief in this guy as a young prospect still. I really think he's going to make a big leap here in the next couple of years and become one of the better players in the league. So I am a little biased, and I am essentially buying this because I do think that he's going to make a jump in his career and that the value of this card is going to go up. And of course, when you know, the great thing about having cards like these, though, I mean, some people might think it's a burden, but I kind of think it's interesting is that, there's not going to be any comps of this card that's going to be out there. And so the price of this card, who knows? Who knows how high it can go? I mean, if he does have a really good year this year, or let's say he has a great year and becomes an all-star this year, I mean, what price point do you think I could set this as here in a few months? The possibilities are a bit, kind of unlimited. And so, that's the great thing too, in my opinion, about having really interesting rare things like these is because you're not tied to eBay comps and people looking up the sales history and be like, oh, no. This went down 20% at the last sale. And so comps say it's worth this, and so I'm only going to pay that much for that card. That's what I find interesting, like about something like Dwayne Wade's Black Refractor, is that this is rare enough that you see a few sales of these come up every so often, but not very many. You usually only see them once every couple months or so, and so you don't have to really necessarily tie yourself to eBay comps and whatnot when you're thinking about potentially reselling those cards. And I'm probably not going to resell, obviously, the Dwayne Wade anytime soon. I may on the Shea, because it is a piece that I'm looking at as an investment tool to add to my actual PC, of course. And those are the things that I think you have to do nowadays to be a modern card collector, is to find things like this that you do think will go up in value, and that's going to help you buy cards that you actually really want and for your PC long term. I think everyone kind of has to become a flipper nowadays, and I know that's kind of a term that a lot of people don't like to use, but it's also just kind of what you have to do, because otherwise I don't think you'll be able to just go out and continuously be able to buy stuff that you're really wanting to get. So anyways, those are my general thoughts on a lot of the ultra modern stuff. And basically speaking, I don't really buy very many ultra modern unless it's something really interesting, unique, like the card you see before you. And I've had a few other examples that I purchased recently that I've already moved on for other things. And I think my general thought on it is don't go out and spend $800 on a Panini Prism base rookie card thinking that it's going to hold its value or get much more valuable beyond that. I don't think those will hold up in the long term, even really in the short term, in terms of like, a year or 2 years from now. I mean, if you buy something with the intention of flipping it in a couple months, then yeah, it might still work out for you. But I'm just not a fan of getting those and holding on to them for the long term, for sure. So anyway, and of course, all this is going to really be interesting, and to see what happens when Fanatics takes over. Obviously, that was the big news in the hobby industry recently. And so they're really going to control pretty much everything of the big three sports. They'll have the licenses for Major League Baseball, NBA, and NFL, and they're going to control the product, the distribution. They're going to try and control the grading. They're going to try and control the market, the buying and selling of those cards, even as a third party. Basically, take over eBay, take over PSA if they can. Like, they're going to try and take over pretty much everything when it comes to cards and memorabilia. So it's going to be interesting to see how that looks and what their products actually look like, and will certain products like Topps Chrome and Panini Prism go away forever? And if they do, what's that going to mean for some of these older Topps Chrome and Panini Prisms? Because everything I just said about Panini Prism base cards right now, that, well, maybe that won't be true, because maybe they'll go away in a few years and people will just have such a love for the Panini Prism, they'll go ahead and still pay a premium price point even for the base cards down the road. So who knows? But right now, as I sit here today on October the 7th, 2021, I don't recommend getting those ultra modern cards without really looking into, is it something that's truly rare and unique, and really something that is hard to find, and it's hard to find sales comps, or it's hard to find other other versions of that card out there on the market. All right, well, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, would love to hear or see comments on this topic, and what are people's thoughts on some of these ultra modern cards and price points that are happening right now. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.